we agreed my entrance music would be Whitesnake? Hi, my name's John Busby. I run the consumer insights and marketing teams at Marchex. What we do is provide rich analytics on the inbound phone calls driven by marketing and advertising to brands and agencies. I'm here today to talk about some research that we collaborated with Digiday on about mobile marketing. I'm very excited to share the results with you. Before I do, though, I'd like to talk a little bit about predictions, and I'm going to start with long-term predictions. This one flashed across my Twitter stream last week. It's going to be the second Back to the Future reference of today. There were a number of predictions this movie made when Marty McFly and Doc Brown traveled 26 years into the future to 2015 last week. A number of predictions were true. Flat screen TVs. They also predicted a crude version of FaceTime, but most of the predictions were, in fact, did not turn out. One of the ones I was hoping would be the self-lacing high tops. I have 2 young kids who refuse to tie their shoes. That would be super helpful. And then also the hover skateboards. But I think we can all agree that long-term predictions are pretty tough. So maybe let's focus on short-term predictions. Oh, shoot, I forgot about this prediction from the movie. There was a lot of attention given this year because Back to the Future 2 predicted the Cubs would win the World Series. As you probably know, they haven't won since 1908. As someone who grew up in the northern suburbs of Chicago, I've been subjected to this image for the last 15 years, a fan who supposedly ruined the Cubs' last chance at winning the last World Series. I feel bad for the guy. Unfortunately, this prediction didn't come true either. So let's focus on short-term predictions. These predictions come from someone whose only job is to watch football, write about football, and predict football. His name's Doug Farrar. He writes for Sports Illustrated, and he predicted these 8 division winners for the National Football League. Let's see after week 7 how many of these teams are in first place. There you go. 5 of these teams, the Eagles, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Chargers, and the Ravens, are all under 500. The Colts are actually under 500 too, although they happen to be in first place. Okay, here's a prediction that's a little bit more relevant to us. What about this prediction? This is a prediction about mobile advertising. And it suggests that this year, desktop advertising and mobile advertising, brands will spend about the same, and then mobile advertising will double to a $60 billion industry by 2018. Sort of interested to know whether or not you all think this prediction will come true or not. I mean, I certainly know everyone's bullish about mobile advertising, that we see consumers using our phones constantly to consume media, but there are a number of challenges with mobile advertising. So I have some serious questions about whether it will come true. And the previous presentation, I think, spotlighted one of them. So that's why we did the survey. That's why we did the study, the State of the Industry study, how mobile is changing marketing. We collaborated with Digiday, who surveyed 200 brands, agencies, and publishers about their attitudes, opinions, and practices in mobile marketing. And here's what we wanted to find out. First, the goals that marketers have for their advertising programs. Try to understand what actually the purpose of these advertising programs is. Second, the challenges marketers face in the mobile advertising ecosystem. And third, how marketers are trying to address these challenges. I also had a really interesting 4th thing I wanted to find out. That is, what percentage of marketers have the attention span to get through a 15-question survey? I will actually reveal the answer to this at the end of the presentation. I'm going to set the over-under at 40%, and I'm kind of interested if you think it's over or under that. Okay, so let's move on. There are a bunch of findings in the paper. I'm only going to focus on 4 of them today, and then I encourage you to go to either our website, marchex.com, or Digiday to download the rest of the study. The first question that we asked was, which of the following are desired outcomes from your mobile advertising? App downloads, click-to-call, lead gen, m-commerce, and in-store purchases. Of course, there are often multiple outcomes expected or hoped for from mobile advertising, but it's important to note that 66% of respondents listed offline goals as the outcome expected and hoped for from mobile advertising. I think this is a good sign. It shows that marketers are paying attention to what consumers are doing on mobile devices. This research comes from Google and shows that the most natural and common response to a mobile search is a phone call. the second most popular response is actually an in-store visit, and it shows that our devices, I'm holding this like it's a phone, our devices are a bridge between the online world and the offline world. Forrester has done some research on consumer purchases and confirmed some of this as well. So it shows whereas all of e-commerce put together is about a $300 billion industry, digitally influenced offline purchases represent $1.5 trillion in consumer expenditures. And when you just look at mobile influenced offline sales is about 20 times the size of m-commerce. One more stat about this finding. This one comes from eMarketer, and it looks at the top spenders of programmatic display advertising and focus on the top 5 verticals: retail, CPG, financial services, telecom, and automotive. These industries, basically all or the super majority of purchases occur offline. Okay, finding number 2. We asked agencies, brands, publishers, what are the biggest challenges in the mobile ad ecosystem today? Transparency, scale, experience, / format, or measurement and attribution. If you're trying to follow along the donut charts, the very challenging and challenging is like the dark blue and the green. Measurement and attribution showed up far and away the most difficult challenge that marketers face today. I know that in our business, we see this a lot. Online to offline is a total mystery for most clients. When you have an e-commerce experience, like searching for a hotel suite on a PC and then clicking through and actually signing up or making a reservation, all that's pretty easily tracked with cookies. But when you're actually clicking to call a hotel or anyone else that you try to call, it's often a black box from the mobile ad all the way through to your CRM database. Finding number 3, of all of the types of purchases that you can measure, in-store purchases were the ones that marketers identified as the most difficult to measure. And again, the donut chart, you can sort of look at not at all effectively. It starts at the bottom and works its way up. The majority of advertisers find in-store purchases to be a very significant challenge. So what are they doing about it? There are a lot of different things, but there's no single solution that's widely adopted. Let's look at some of the answers here. Mobile coupons, in-store beacons, using mobile phones as the point of purchase, SMS text offers, an attribution vendor, about 15%, publisher reporting, and then a lot that aren't using it at all. So I think that obviously this represents a big opportunity for marketers in the future. And then finally, finding number 4, there's better understanding of how to address click-to-call attribution, although it's not yet widely adopted. I'm going to start with the data point on the right. 44% of respondents listed call analytics as the most effective way to actually measure inbound phone calls from advertising. It was the most of any of the responses. Now shift to the data point on the left, yet just 1/3 of all advertisers use call tracking to measure the phone channel. I'd like to talk a little bit more about this using some additional data. One thing that you may not realize is that click-to-call commerce, meaning clicking on a phone number from your mobile phone and then either making a reservation, an appointment, actually buying something over the phone or going in store to make a purchase, will be $1 trillion in consumer expenditures this year and is expected to double by 2019. In addition to that, we expect 93 billion calls from click-to-call this year. It actually comes from a consulting firm called BIA Kelsey. The reason why that's such a big number is because calls convert so well. None of us wake up in the morning and say to ourselves, I can't wait to call a business. But when we're really interested in researching, selecting, or purchasing a product, we'll pick up the phone and call. And when we make that time investment, we're very likely to convert. If you're trying to follow the chart, the categories of businesses are across the bottom, and the blue bars are the percentage of those calls that lead to a sale or appointment. The magenta or purple are part of the bar are qualified leads that did not end in a sale or appointment on that phone call. Okay, so that's the study, State of the Industry, How Mobile's Changing Marketing. Please download it at marchex.com or head over to Digiday. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my predictions. First is that mobile analytics will be a major point of emphasis for the CMO office. Maybe this doesn't come across as a surprise, although I do want to note that Duke University did a study of CMOs and asked sort of what their priorities were for the next 5 years. And a digital marketing technology transformation, including mobile, is expected to be the #1 project that CMOs undertake in the next 5 years for the purposes of improving ROI. Second is I think the leaders will focus on tying mobile ads to offline outcomes, meaning attribution, in-store analytics, and call analytics. And then finally, because I'm sort of a sucker for the Cubs I think are going to win the World Series in my lifetime. So let me just give a little word about Marchex. We're a mobile advertising technology company that connects online behavior to real-world offline actions. Today we focus on phone calls. Also, if you're interested in reading some research about how once you get measurement and attribution right with phone calls, how you can do really transformational things with your business, please read this study, which was done by Forrester Consulting on the total economic impact of our products. And then finally, I talked about a data point earlier in the presentation about the percentage of marketers that had the attention span to get through a 15-question survey. I set the over-under at 40%. How many had the over? Oh, just 2. All right, 3. How many had the under? I guess everyone else. I actually got pretty good news. 49% of people that started the survey actually finished it. So I feel really, really good about being part of this industry. Thank you very much. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, John. That was great. Do we have any questions for John? Question. Did you offer those guys anything, like to do the survey?
Did we offer something? I don't know. Did we?
Oh,
yeah, hangover bags.
Oh, okay. No, that's really good numbers. We actually talked a lot about success measurement this morning in the town hall, and it was actually sort of one of our bigger topics. Got pretty heated up in there about that. One of the things sort of that I heard from the agency side is that often the frustration is that clients look at really narrow methods of measuring anything, and that comes right down to like digital, mobile, wherever that is. I'm just curious sort of if you kind of asked anything to do with that in the survey and what you'd heard, or if you've just heard from some of the research that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I can say as an analyst, I like to do what's sort of the easiest and the best approach with the least amount of data, but to meet deadlines. But often true attribution, true measurement takes a pretty significant investment and takes a lot of time to understand the problem, ask the right questions, and so on. We didn't address that in the survey, sort of how much investment that agencies, brands, and publishers make. But I know it's a significant one. It's also one that's worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because the issue is also sometimes you just have to tell the client, you know, you're looking at this too narrowly, and I think there is a gap between telling them and actually having them listen.
I will say that I'm seeing a lot more investment from agencies in analytics these days, which is a good sign.
Oh, okay, good to know. Well, thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
We're going to break for a very, very, very quick coffee break.